All right, let's get to it. Big night. We mentioned it. Cowboys, Buccaneers, Rob. Dominique Foxworth, who does a nice job over at the other network, former NFL player. He made a comment, Rob, that he thinks the best quarterback in tonight's game, obviously not historically, but now, is Dak Prescott over Tom Brady. And here's what I say. I'm surprised Foxworth would go there. One, because I just think it's flat out wrong. But I think, Rob, people are getting too caught up in Dak's numbers from the 4 or 5 games he played last year. I like Dak. I've been on this show as the defender, so to speak, of Dak. So I like him, but I think he's being overhyped. He averaged 371 yards a game last year, Rob. You remember in the preseason, reporters were even asking him if he could hit 6,000 yards this year because of the 17 games. And what people are doing, Rob, is that they aren't looking at the context of those yards. Like, we've talked about it before. So many of his yards came when they were behind big, desperate, in the second half, trying to rally, and the opposing defense was in, if not a full prevent, a softer cover 2 or a soft defense where it's easy to get those yards because those passes, those completions, those yards, because they just want you to run out the clock and get the game over.
They don't want you to go over the top and score quickly, right. So they'll give you everything in front of them. Like, it's just like, we'll let you march down the field, but you have to take your time and eat the clock. Yep. They'll give it up. Yep. Right? You don't want to play because you don't want somebody to get behind you for a quick score. That's not what you want. Chris, this is my argument and what I've said for years about Matthew Stafford, because I've covered Lions games for years.
Right.
When you're down 21-0, is it easier or harder to throw the football? It's easier.
Much easier. Yep.
It's easier, absolutely. Even though you're not running the ball anymore, right? The defense knows it, but they're not going to pinch you in coverage and let you throw one over their head. They're not. I mean, come on, man.
That's what Dak feasted on, Rob, last year. And to Dak's credit, Rob, he knew that, because when he was asked about the 6,000 yards, he was like, I hope not. He was like, I'm paraphrasing, but it wasn't a good thing that he was throwing, for all those yards. So Dak understood it. And so he said he's going to come out faster, play better this year. He actually used the term faster than last year. I don't think he meant throw for more yards. I think he meant get out early and get his team on the board in the first halves so they don't have to play from behind like that, Rob.
No, I mean, you don't want to play from behind. You don't want to fall behind by 21 points in the first half or whatever. It was ugly. And then this is what even Tony Dungy said. You remember he got criticized because it seemed insensitive when he said that it was a blessing in disguise, Dak getting hurt, because now the Cowboys can go back to running the football. You remember that? That's when they were having their most success, when it was about Ezekiel Elliott and Dak was mixing in and making the third downs and the passes that they need in that context. And that's why all games, numbers by themselves don't always tell the real story. There has to be in context. And the Cowboys have won more when Dak hasn't thrown for big numbers. Period. Those are facts. So you can look at it and say, oh, this guy might throw 6,000 yards and 55 touchdowns in the offense, and look at all the receivers. But last year they were 1-6 against playoff teams. They couldn't beat anybody. And I think the number, 2-10?
They're 2-10 in their last 12 games, or Dak is 2-10 in his last 12 games against teams with winning records.
I mean, what is that?
6-17, Rob, in the last 23.
This is what we're talking about. That's not winning football.
The reason I've liked Dak so much is, I'm big on the intangibles. I felt like he had those: leadership. He's a winner, galvanize the locker room, get players to believe in him, so on and so forth. I like his character, but I always viewed him, Rob, as a game manager, and this shouldn't be an insult. It shouldn't be viewed as an insult. I've viewed him as a game manager who could make plays with his legs and his arm. Like, I never viewed Dak as a guy like an Aaron Rodgers or someone of that ilk that he puts the team on his back, he throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns and leads you to victory, essentially whether you got a running game or not. That's not Dak's strength to me. To me, Dak's strengths are his smarts, his decision-making, the intangibles, as I said, and he's a game manager capable. Some game managers aren't capable of making big plays, and those are the ones where it's kind of an insult. But Dak I viewed as a game manager who was capable of making big plays in both ways, his arm and his legs, and we've seen him do it with his legs too. And now, somewhat largely, Rob, because of the demise of Ezekiel Elliott in that running game, he's kind of had to morph into this guy throwing for all these yards. But I don't think that's when they're at their best. And I think they, like you said, the key is the running game. And there's been a lot of talk about Zeke. He's lost weight. He's bothered by the perception that he's fallen off. And
by the perception or the facts of the numbers.
Right.
I mean,
it just is what it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so their offensive line has been banged up, and tonight they're without Zach Martin because of COVID. So I don't know how much that run game is going to be there tonight, Rob, but for the season, I think it's big that they're not Zeke. I doubt. I can't imagine, Rob, he's going back to what he was. I think it can be better.
Running backs don't get better, Chris, as time goes on. They just don't.
You take a lot of punishment, and he's a guy that would run into guys and take a lot of hits. So we'll see. I'm not going to write him off at 26, I believe is what he is.
I'm not saying that he's a bum or he can't play, but he's not going to be the guy he was his first 2 years where he was a monster and the best running back in the league. I'm just saying I find it hard to think that a guy who's been off for a couple of years is going to regain being the best running back in the league. Here's
what I want to throw at you, Rob. Is it a fail? Is it playoffs or bust? Like, if the Cowboys don't make the playoffs, is it a failure for both them? It is for them, obviously, and Dak as well.
Absolutely. I mean, barring some major injury to Dak, obviously, if he gets hurt again, then that all bets are off. But this would be year 3 of not making the playoffs, and with the NFC least, if you can't win that division with Philly in transition, with the Giants just kind of an also-ran team, and while I like Washington's defense, I'm not that crazy about the overall team, and I don't think they're world beaters. They made the playoffs last yeur, right? More than Dallas did.
7-9.
Yep, but there you go. You just said it. I was just going to say, but they didn't even have a 500 record.
Right.
So that division, if you can't win that division with the weapons and Dak Prescott and all the money that's been spent, then it's a disaster. It's not just a failure. It's a total disaster. And Mike McCarthy won't keep his job either.
Well, he shouldn't. I mean, barring, debilitating injuries to various players, star players. Yeah, Rob, you said it. They're in the weakest division in the NFL. They got all the weapons. Some people think they got the best receiving core in the league. I don't, but I think it's up there. It's top 3. And as you said, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard's nice. They added some guys on defense. People are high on Micah Parsons. Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator.
They got players and people and personnel.
Absolutely. So it is definitely a failure. And Zach's success this year, to me, Rob, is more tied to their wins than it is to how many yards he throws.
You know what, Chris? I'll tell you right off the bat. If the Cowboys are serious and want to impress people, beat Tampa Bay tonight. Beat good teams. Go on the road, right? And win a big game like that. That's where you get my attention that maybe something different is happening.
Well, we're going to get into that a little bit later before this game starts, but I'd be shocked if they beat Tampa Bay tonight. I don't think it ruins their season that they don't. But I'd be stunned. That would, as you said, be a huge statement. Yeah.
No, you know what I'm saying, right? I'm just saying, right?
That would speak volumes.
Like you're you just said it. 2-12 in Dak's last 2-10 in his last 12 games. You beat the Super Bowl champs, right? In their house, Chris. Would that be a way to start the season? Put the NFL on notice?
Yeah. Yeah. I think Sacramento would like to beat Brooklyn on opening night, too. I don't know if that's who they play. But.
Right. I know what you mean. But the difference with Sacramento and Dallas is that Dallas has all the weapons, and they're supposed to do something.
They do have weapons. All right.